Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank each of you for being here this morning and for talking with us. This committee has looked at this issue on the algorithms and their utilization for some time, and we're going to continue to do this, looking at content, and the extremist content that is online is certainly important. We know there are a host of solutions that are out there, and we need to come to an agreement and an understanding of how you're going to use these and these technologies to really protect our citizens. And social media companies are, in a sense, open public forums. And they should be, where people can interact with one another. And part of your responsibility in this vein is to have an objective cop on the beat and be able to see what is happening because you're looking at it in real time. But what has unfortunately happened many times is you don't get an objective view, you don't get a consistent view, you get a subjective view. And this is problematic, and it leads to confusion by the public that is using the virtual space for entertainment, for their transactional life, for obtaining their news. So indeed, as we look at this issue, we are looking for you to approach it in a consistent and objective manner, and we welcome the opportunity to visit with you today. Ms. Bickert, I've got a couple of things that I wanted to talk with you about. We've all heard about these third-party facilities where contractors are working long hours and they're looking at grotesque and violent images, and they're doing this day in and day out. So talk a little bit about how you transition from that to using modern technologies, what Facebook is going to do in order to capture this, to extract it, and to minimize harm. You've talked about you've got 30,000 employees that are working on safety and security, and then there are third-party entities that are working on this. So let's talk about that impact on the individuals and then talk about the use of technologies to speed up this process and to make it more consistent and accurate.
Thank you for the question, Senator. Making sure that we're enforcing our policies is a priority for us. Making sure that our content reviewers are healthy and safe in their jobs is paramount. And so one of the things that we do is we make sure that we are using technology to make their jobs easier and to limit the amount of content, types of content that they have to see. And I'll give you a couple examples. With child exploitation videos, with graphic violence, with terror propaganda, we are now able to use technology to review a lot of that content so that people don't have to. And in situations where
now,
we can...
Let me ask you this. Sorry to interrupt,
Sure.
but we need to move forward. Your 30,000 reviewers, are they all located in Palo Alto, or are they scattered around the country or around the globe?
No, Senator. We have 30,000 people working in safety and security. Some of them are engineers or lawyers. The content reviewers, we have more than 15,000.
Okay.
They are based around the world.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. Great. Thank you.
And for I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No.
For any of them, not only are we using technology, and there are ways that we're using, even where we cannot make a decision on the content using technology alone, there are things we can do like removing the volume or separating a video into still frames that can make the experience better for the reviewer.
Okay, now let me ask you about this. Mark Zuckerberg, in a Washington Post op-ed, had called for us to regulate, to define lawful but awful speech. So tell me how you think you could define, or we could define, lawful but awful speech, but not overreach or infringe on somebody's First Amendment free speech rights.
Senator, one of the things that we're looking to with our dialogue with governments is clarity on the actions that governments want us to take. So we have our set of policies that lays out very clearly how we define things, but we don't do that in a vacuum. We do that with a lot of input from civil society organizations and academics around the world, but we also like to hear the views from government so we can make sure we are mindful of all of the different safety
Well,
perspectives.
ours are constitutionally based. I am out of time. Mr. Pickles, I'm going to submit a question to you for the record. Mr. Salim, I've got one that I'm going to send to you. Mr. Slater, I always have questions for Google, so you can depend on me to get one to you, and we do hope that you all are addressing your prioritization issues also. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.